left off our shipbuilding in the last video by building all of the floors. This is how the ship looks like right now. In this video, we are going to make the hull. To do that, I'm going to first smooth out the ribs, make a hull using paper, then cover up the paper hull with wooden veneer. Well, the plan is simple, but it turns out it took me forever. But anyway, here goes. After smoothing out the ribs, so it gradually widens, then gradually narrows from bow to the stern, I initially tried to tape individual strips of paper directly onto the keel and the ribs, but that didn't work. So I decided to create a temporary hull with some packing tapes. The paper needed some place to stick to, and the tape provided some surface to stick to. It's a lot of taping and gluing from here on. Tape everything first so things will kind of stay in place, and then glue everything permanently, and then take out the tapes because tapes and their stickiness don't last over time. I stacked paper strips around the temporary hull. By stacking narrow strips of paper, I can create a more smooth-looking hull without obvious bumps or folds. And of course, I made them for both sides. This is how it looks at this point. We have a pretty good looking hull. This is now the base, and we need to stack up the wall higher. But before we do that, let's take out the temporary hull that was made with tape. Before we take out the tapes, let's glue everything. I basically cover the entire hull with glue. Let the glue dry overnight. The hull at this point is very hard. Since the hull and the ship are not glued together, they can be taken out or separated, which is what I want. I want to be able to swap out the hull if I want to when I want to build other ships. I don't want to build a keel and ribs all over again. I will be reusing the ship parts as much as I can when I build the next ship. So this is where we are at this point. Almost everything can be separated at this point. The hull, the floors, and the rooms. Next, let's stack up the walls higher so it reaches up to the main deck and up to the forecastle. The hull will need some openings to install the cannons, but we can come back to that later when we get there. The parts we don't need and shape the hull to look like what we want. Repeat for the other side as well. looks pretty good, or at least it looks like a hull. Now I cut out the hull in the tail area because it's all bunching up together, and I want to install flat panels on the back. So I cut out some access and created some gaps for additional panels to go in. There is a gap between the floor, the tail part of the keel, and the hull. So we need to fill this gap, or the captain's room will have a huge hole on the floor near the windows. So these two small pieces are glued to the keel between the floor and the hull. I first cut out the shape I want on the paper and then glued the paper to the craft sticks. And then I smoothed out the edges. The craft sticks are kind of flimsy and they could snap. So extra paper backing makes them harder and they will resist breaking apart. And then these two pieces are for covering up the gap on the back, the gap in between the keel and the hull. Again, I cut out the shape I want on a paper, glued wooden veneer, and then glued to the keel. It bends slightly as it goes down. And I made sure the glue is thoroughly dried before I did anything else. It's a lot of waiting around for glue to dry, but it's kind of necessary. It's now the real thing. The thing that we made before is the base. Now we need to add wooden veneer to that, so it looks like the ship is made from wood and not paper. So to do that, I'm going to use veneer. But veneer is really flimsy and it rips very easily. So I'm going to harden the veneer with some paper. I glued a large piece of veneer with equally sized paper backings. I waited for them to thoroughly dry before I cut them into narrow strips. Now comes the most time-consuming part of the project, individually laying down the strips of wooden veneer onto the ship. We need to taper the ends so they will gradually taper toward the bow and the stern. We don't want all these strips to bunch up on the front and back. But the worst part is waiting for the glue on the strips to dry before I could lay the next strip. I'm kind of forcing these strips to stay in this shape, so I have to tape them to the hull until the glue is thoroughly dried. I am shaping the wood to bend in a way I want them to, so it takes some time, some patience, and lots of glue and tape. And wear gloves. All this touching wood and glue is making my hands dry very quickly. It's a yucky feeling. Dried glue on your fingers with whatever chemical treatments these veneers might have gotten. So anyway, I guess any gloves will do. It's just a note to myself. Oh, and the splinters. Splinters. I didn't think these flimsy veneers and craft sticks will have splinters, but yeah, they do. They hurt when they prick your fingers. And the worst part is that they are so thin and so tiny that it's hard to take them out. I can't find them, but I know it's in there. It's a really, really uncomfortable feeling. Not because it hurts or anything, but I know something is in there and I end up keep rubbing my fingers until the feeling disappears, so another reason to wear gloves. Anyway, so I keep doing this. I can't upload this video until at least this haul is covered, so I guess I got nothing to upload this week, but oh well. I just have to keep going. How was your day been? Is it just me, or people are just so angry these days? Or is it just the people around me? Random people on the street are just so randomly angry these days. One or two is okay, but then things add up. And by the time I come home, I'm just so exhausted with the other people's angry feelings. They add up and I'm just so drained out. I mean, just little things. Little things. Oh, it's just so many to list them here. It even sounds silly to list them. It's like, was this even a thing to get angry about before 2020? I mean, gosh, just itty bitty little things. People are definitely all going crazy. If you're watching this video not in 2020, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, it's the year 2020. I'm sure everybody will have stories about this year, and if you're born after 2020, and if you just happen to watch this video in the future, yeah, there was a year in 2020 where the world just went upside down. Maybe the history will remember this year or wipe it off all history books like it never existed. Who knows? But there was year 2020 and it wasn't like any other year. Alright, all that gluing is finally done. That actually took several days. I'm going to split the hull in half so the camera can capture the inside. I still don't know how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to secure this hull to the ship. I'm thinking of just tying them down to the ribs with strings, but until I figured that out exactly, I'm going to keep it looking like this for now. And as for the final touch before I wrap up this video, I cut out all the excess pieces. I'm going to come back and make fancier looking rails, but we have at least some kind of a covering. The front and back areas are not closing off completely right now, but I'm going to come back and figure out a way for them to stay secured to the kill later. I want to get other things done first though, like figure out the bowstern or the captain's cabin or the rails, so we will come back for those later. So we have most of the structural things done. I think the biggest structural issue left in this project is probably the mast. If we could get the mast done, this thing will really start to look like a sail ship. Right now, it kind of looks like a barge. So in the next video, we will finally figure out how to get the mast installed. It's likely going to be another long video, so it's going to take some time to get out. I am trying something different for the upcoming series. Mainly, I want to build the props for them. It will happen gradually over time, but I think it's going to be interesting. So anyway, thanks for watching.